Jose Luis Matos San Martin, better known as Joselu, was the talk of the town after his brace against Bayern Munich in the Champions League semi-finals. And one might think that he was lucky as he was never perceived as a big footballing star. But still, he got a chance to play for Real Madrid when he was 34 years old. Yes, he's 34 and soon he'll be 35. But to be fair, he needs to be talked about. And people should know his story because he has had a strange footballing career, which I think can be inspirational. So without any further ado, let's begin this video. Many young footballers dream of playing for a club like Real Madrid, but only a few can achieve those dreams. And Joselu was one who came so close. In fact, he almost achieved it, but then it all fell apart and it felt like it was never meant to be, until last year. Anyways, his story began at Germany, and I was surprised to know that he was born in Stuttgart. He even did his schooling there for 4 years before his family returned to Spain, where he started showing his interest in football. And long story short, Joselu attracted Celta Vigo, who then persuaded him to join their youth team, and that's where his professional career began. In 2008, he was selected to play for their B team, even scored 4 goals, which gave him a call-up to their first team. And in 2008-09 season, when he was just 18, he made his La Liga debut for Celta Vigo. Also got a call-up to play for the Spanish under-19 team the same year. Even played 11 matches for them that year, netting 3 goals. So at this point, Joselu started becoming an attractive prospect. A tall young Spanish forward who looked promising. So a call from a big club was expected, and he got a call from none other than Real Madrid to join their youth system. And Joselu, who has not hidden his appreciation for Real Madrid, joined their Castilla team in 2009. Now so far, everything that happened in his career was as good as it can be. And now at Real Madrid youth ranks, where he would get best facilities, coaches and a platform to take it to the next level, naturally one would expect that he is in the perfect track to achieve his dream. And his performances for the Castilla team also confirm this. Because that Castilla team had players like young Nacho, Dani Carvajal, Jose Rodriguez, Alvaro Morata, Lucas Vazquez, etc. But still, Joselu performed at a high level. And in 2011-2012 season, he scored 26 goals and became the top scorer of Spanish 3rd division and earning his team a promotion to the 2nd division. And his performances earned him a call from Real Madrid first team. And on 21st May 2011, he made his first team and La Liga debut, coming on as a substitute for Karim Benzema, and he scored a goal right away assisted by Cristiano Ronaldo. So yes, Joselu scored in his first game for Real Madrid, and then he scored in his second game as well, which was a Copa del Rey tie. What moment it would have been for the young footballer, playing with world-class players in the club he dreamt of playing and scoring goals in his debut. But that, my friends, would be the highest of high he would experience for a long time. Because Real Madrid had a star-studded lineup, top talents like Ronaldo, Benzema and Gonzalo Higuain playing in the forward position, it was almost impossible for Joselu to get regular playing time. And by now, other European clubs were also getting attracted and showed interest in him. So Real management took a call and decided to sell him to a German club, Hoffenheim. Now everything that happened till now pointed towards Joselu having a top career in football. But with this move, things came to a halt. And you cannot point out a single reason as to why that happened. But if you break it down, for a proper number 9 who's not a winger and does not involve himself in the build-up as much, he has to put numbers in front of the goal to get the recognition. And to do that is not easy if you're not getting the service from your team and regular playing time. And if you're playing for a team who's struggling at the bottom half of the table, it's a luxury to expect those things. So his stint at Hoffenheim was underwhelming. In total, he made 25 appearances for the German club, scoring 5 goals and finishing in 16th position in the league. So the excitement surrounding Joselu lowered at this point. He was on a 4-year contract with Hoffenheim, but because they could not guarantee the required playing time for the young forward, the club decided to send him on loan to Eintracht Frankfurt. Now for a young player who came from the biggest club in Spain to Hoffenheim, which with all due respect was close to relegation at that point, so he naturally was not able to perform at the quality expected from him. Even Joselu in an interview after joining Frankfurt said that he struggled to adapt to his new surroundings. Anyways, now the question was, would he be able to bounce back from here or would be forgotten like many other young talents? But in his second year in Germany, playing for a new coach in a different system, his performances improved. He made 33 appearances for Frankfurt under manager Armin Wehr and scored 14 goals, helping the club to finish 13th in the Bundesliga table, also reaching the knockout stages of Europa League when he scored an away goal against Porto. So in short, a recent campaign for Frankfurt. Now the loan period was over and Joselu was supposed to go back to Hoffenheim, but because of his performances, another German club, Hannover, got interested in him and convinced Hoffenheim to sell Joselu for 6 million. Hannover striker Biram Diouf had just left the club and Joselu was supposed to be his replacement. He joined them on 9 June 2014 on a 4-year deal. Hannover's director of sport, Dirk Dunfer, also praised Joselu and said, "Our aim was was to sign a striker with quality and Bundesliga experience, but also somebody who still has room for improvement, and Joselu really made a name for himself last season with some exceptional performances for Frankfurt. So although this was his third German club in 3 years, but there was still excitement about the player, and now it was up to Joselu to prove himself. But to be honest, Hanover were not scoring goals for fun. In fact, they just finished 2 points above the relegation playoff, and Joselu made 32 appearances that season, out of which 17 were starts, and scored 8 goals. And that's not a good number, but still a decent return considering the struggles that Hanover had. So Joselu, after getting all the hype in Spain, was not having the best of times at Germany, but still people believed in his quality as a striker. And by now he was 25, and it was high time he proved himself in the club he was in, or he must make a career-defining move. And right at that time, Stoke City came calling. They offered Hanover 5.7 million euros, and Hanover were happy to accept their offer. There was a belief that German football was maybe not the best place for him, and that might not be the case in Premier League. Stoke manager of the time, Mark Hughes, said that Joselu has an excellent pedigree and is a player we have been tracking for some time. The CEO Tony Scholes said Joselu was one of our key targets of the summer, and so I'm delighted that we have completed this deal. Joselu himself wanted to play in the Premier League for a long time, because after he signed for Stoke, he said, "To play in the Premier League has always been an ambition of mine. It is a fantastic league with great clubs." So all in all, it was looking like a suitable move for all parties. But does things ever go the way you expect them to? Joselu at Stoke will have one of his worst times as a professional footballer. He just made 27 appearances, played close to 1000 minutes of football, and just scored 4 goals. Yes, it was bad. But again, if you look at it, it was not really up to him, because he was behind players like Bojan Krkic, Shaqiri, and Marko Arnautovic in the pecking order, and people noticed that. In fact, his teammate Bojan Krkic talked about Joselu's first year at Stoke and said he arrived at the time of transition, and it was hard for him to enter the starting 11, nor he was given the continuity he expected. And by his second season, it got even worse, because The Athletic reported that he was the 7th choice player for the striker role. So Joselu pushed his way out back to his native Spain for a 1-year loan move to Deportivo La Coruña. And was this going to be the place where his fortune would change? No. It took him till 10th of December to score his first goal, and in total he made 24 appearances and just managed 6 goals before his loan move came to an end because of an Achilles injury. I don't know what was going through his mind, but he was already 27 at this point, and in the past 6 years, he played for 6 different teams, haven't really been a standout player for any of the clubs, and was unwanted in the club he actually played for. And now imagine that he would be playing in the Champions League final with Real Madrid. I don't know if Joselu himself could imagine this at that time. Anyways, what happens next was his loan move with Deportivo ended, and he went for the preseason with Stoke and even scored good goals for them. But again, Stoke had players in that position ahead of Joselu, so nor Stoke wanted him, nor he wanted to play for them. And a transfer again was the more suited option. And that's where Newcastle comes into picture. You see, they were relegated a year before and just came back to the top flight, and their owner was Mike Ashley, who had promised then manager Rafa Benitez with top signings in forward positions, which it turns out was harder to deliver than he would have expected. And in the end, they had to settle for Joselu. Now at that point, no Newcastle fans were going crazy for his arrival. In fact, Rafa Benitez was not hyping Joselu at all. Talking about his transfer, he said, "We are signing players for lesser money. If you have more money, you can buy a very good car. But if you don't, you can only buy a car that can do the job but is not spectacular." So not boosting his confidence in any way. And so was his performances at Newcastle. Nothing special, but again, the team as a whole was underperforming. He just scored 3 goals by January and was the highest scorer of that team. So you can imagine. He scored 4 and assisted 2 goals by the end of the season, and for a change, he remained at Newcastle for the next season as well. But they bought some young players in the forward position like Salman Rondon and Yoshinori Muto, and by now, Joselu was again the 4th choice forward. And just like that, his time at Newcastle came to an end. And now in hindsight, looking at his time there, he was one of the better players at Newcastle, and fans appreciated his efforts, saying stuff like, "At least he worked hard," or "His efforts were not lacking." Anyways, now he was labelled as a Premier League flop. And I'm sure you're aware of the Premier League PR, because he was now a random flop footballer for the global football fans. It was a low point. He was 29, and ideally, this could have been the right time to go to a club in the Middle East or MLS to make as much money as he can in the remaining years. But my man opted to join Alaves instead. This was an underperforming club in La Liga, and playing for a club like that, Joselu won't have any incentive to revive his career. And a player in his position can say, "I did what I could, but it did not work out." But not Joselu. He kept believing. Alaves was a club which was struggling in the relegation zone. Joselu in his first year made 17 goal contributions, scoring 11, and he put similar numbers in the second year as well. And in both campaigns, they just avoided relegation, finishing 16th. Now understand this, Alaves lacked good players and Joselu wanted to leave the club in the second year, but he was promised that players will be added to the team, which did not happen, and in his final year, the team was relegated, but he was a standout performer, scoring 14 goals for a team that finished bottom of the table. Alaves was now relegated, Joselu was a free agent and another relegation-threatened side, Espanyol, came calling, which he joined. And now I have to mention the efforts of this player, because one after the other, he was playing for the clubs which were not in the best position to serve him. Still, somehow his performances kept on improving. He was scoring goals against the best teams in Spain and ended that campaign with 20 goal contributions, scoring 17 goals. Even won the Zara Trophy, which is given to the highest scoring Spanish player. And he did all this in a campaign when Espanyol was also relegated. Imagine that. But all of this didn't go unnoticed, because he got a call from the Spanish national team, and now at the age of 32, he made his debut against Norway in the Euro qualifiers and did well in the couple of matches he played for them, and was called again to play for Spain in the Nations League, where he scored in the semi-finals against Italy and the penalty in the final, and won the Nations League in the process, becoming one of the favourites to play up top for the new manager Luis de la Fuente. And while all of this was happening, there was a situation at Real Madrid. Karim Benzema, Real Madrid striker for years, left to go to Saudi, leaving the striker position empty. Now Carlo Ancelotti's choice was Harry Kane, who wanted to leave Spurs last year, but Real Madrid out of nowhere decided to sign Joselu. Now imagine, a year ago, he was going to watch Real Madrid play in the UCL final as a fan, and after a roller coaster of a journey, he ended up at Real Madrid. Now Real signing a 30-plus-year-old player was crazy, but which part about his story sounded not crazy to you? Anyways, you all know what happens next. He was not the player Real depended on for scoring goals, but he happily accepted the role that was given to him. He made runs to free up the spaces for his fellow forwards, defended when he was asked, and was a presence in the box when needed. Scored some important goals and has 20 goal contributions this season already, and just like his teammates, he was an essential contributor for everything that Real achieved this season. But he did something more than that. And I know that you know, but let me hype it up. It was the Champions League semi-final. Real Madrid trailed by 1 goal against the mighty Bayern Munich at their home. Joselu gets called up by Ancelotti in the final few minutes, and defending with everything they had was what Bayern was doing. So goal, to be honest, was looking hard to come by. Real, with all their striking power, was doing everything, but was not able to equalize. So not many expected Joselu to do something extraordinary. But in the 87th minute, he scored the first. And within 3 minutes, he scored the winner as well. After everything that happened in his career so far, all the relegated teams he played for, the criticism that came his way in different countries, this moment was bigger than everything that happened with him in the past. The man who was asking for platforms to stream Real Madrid matches a few years ago has now taken them to the Champions League final. Now of course he can achieve much more in his career, and my best wishes to him for that, but my man can say that he's the reason why Real Madrid played the final at Wembley. Isn't that incredible? After everything he went through, he kept on believing. He stayed humble, never criticized his teammates for lack of service, no crazy controversies, no shady messages through his agents on a deal to Saudi or China. Joselu just played football. Not the best, but the most honest. He might not be the most skillful player, but one thing that I read a lot during my research was he never shied away from putting efforts. I myself criticized him for missing his chances, but I understood his efforts. And from Joselu's story, I take this. No matter what situation you are in or how much you have lost, one thing that is in your hand is to keep working. And if those efforts are honest, a time will come when you'll get what you deserve. But until then, losing faith is not an option. Like if you think the video was interesting, comment your thoughts. I respond to every single comment. And if you like these kind of videos, subscribe. You won't be disappointed. Thank you from Football Ledger and see you on the next one. Ciao.